Okay, welcome back to my channel. On this channel I go over current events. Um, Usually I pick an article and I go off on whatever current event is, well, annoying me. But today, this isn't one article. This is a bunch of headlines which just really saddens me. And it has to do with the side effect, I guess you could call it, of the Israel Hamas war. And it's not just about what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Israel. I mean, people smarter than me can't figure this shit out. It's just one big dumpster fire. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the rise of anti Semitism and Islamophobia around the world. So we have headlines like Emmanuel Macron said Europe is seeing a rise in Islamist terrorism. They always had it. It's been going on, but apparently it's getting worse. Justin Trudeau cited a scary rise in anti-Semitism in Canada. In the U.S., a hotel in Arlington, Virginia, canceled a Muslim civil rights group's gala after receiving threats of bombs in the parking garage, promised to kill hotel staff, and a storming of the property. Because this is exactly how rational people act. Um, Let me see. And in London, police saw a leap in the number of offenses in the first few weeks after Hamas's deadly rampage through southern Israel. Now, obviously this is, like I said, with the Islamist terrorism, this isn't anything new. That isn't the point. The point is, oh yes, and I forgot one more headline. A 6-year-old boy was stabbed to death by him and his mother's landlord because he all of a sudden decided that Muslims should die. Not Palestinians, not Hamas, Muslims. Because, when you're a bigot, you can't differentiate shit. So, the mother was stabbed, but her son was stabbed to death. And I've seen that man's mugshot. He looks like he has an IQ of 2020. Anyway, my point is that this conflict is emboldening people who are already bigots. Like that man the landlord who stabbed the boy to death. Apparently he was obsessed with the war. Now, they were his landlord. He was their landlord. He knew that they were Palestinians. So, but all of a sudden, this is what set him off. Apparently, he was perfectly fine with taking their money. He probably had his reservations, but this just set him off, which I don't know why, because it's not like Israel and the Palestinians were buddy-buddy up to this point. This has been a conflict that's been simmering and then exploding, simmering, then exploding. This is nothing new. He was 77 years old. He should know better. But anyway, he's one of the millions of Americans who pay absolutely zero attention to the world around them unless it becomes front page news. But the fact is that it's one thing to have a problem with Netanyahu's government or to have a problem with Hamas. Those are legit positions. But when you take that position and paint all Israelis, first off, as bad people because the government sucks, or assume all Palestinians are terrorists because because Hamas sucks. Because let's face it, this is obviously a topic for another video, but Hamas doesn't actually give a shit about the Palestinians. If they did, they wouldn't be using them as meat shields. So obviously Hamas doesn't truly represent the Palestinian people. So the Palestinian people are well and truly fucked in any scenario. Because until they can get rid of Hamas, that isn't to say that the Israelis are helping in any way. There are plenty of Israelis who are not. But that does not give anyone the right to be anti-Semitic to, number one, not someone who's even Israeli, but just for the crime of being Jewish. What the hell do they have to do with what's happening with Israel-Palestine? Oh yes, they don't. I mean, they may have their views either way. A lot of people do. Most people don't know what the hell they're talking about when they give their views, but they have their views. But to attack someone simply because you assume something about them because they're Jewish? Not even Israeli Jew, just Jewish. They might have never set foot in Israel. So, what do they have to do with the conflict? That's right, nothing. And like the mother and the child who were stabbed by their landlord. Okay, they were Palestinians. That doesn't mean they had anything to do with the conflict, especially that 6-year-old boy. He was born in the U.S. It's entirely possible that he never went back to Palestine. That his parents never went to visit. They might have wanted to go away and never look back. We don't know. Either way, he was 6. What the hell does he have to do with Hamas? That's right, nothing. And at least they were Palestinians, so at least you got the country right. So that's, I guess, the credits for that. But Muslims in general are being targeted. Now, granted, a lot of the Muslim world is anti-Israel. But that doesn't mean all Muslims are in those countries. Some of them actually might have have some sense in them to know that you can't paint the entire group with a broad brush because they get that. But then again, the Israelis are not treating Palestinians very well, even though they should damn well know better because thank you, Holocaust. So people aren't the most rational beings in the world. But we're not even talking Muslims in Muslim countries right now. We are talking Muslims in other areas of the world. Muslims are being attacked. They're attacking others. It's just so unbelievably stupid. So, obviously, those Muslims who are attacking others absolutely hate those people. Absolutely punish those people. But considering that Islam is the second largest religion only to Christianity, Do you really, really think if all Muslims were terrorists, the world would not have exploded by now? So just like not all Jews have anything to do with this conflict, not all Muslims, and actually most Muslims have nothing to do with this conflict. It's a conflict between Hamas and the Israeli government. And unfortunately, plenty of innocent people are in the way. So, now we as a species have a history of being incredible dicks and using the flimsiest of reasons to be dicks. Now, obviously, like I said, if you can have a problem with Netanyahu and his government. If you think that Netanyahu and Hamas should be put in a rocket together and fired into the sun, I would be fine with that. I would be fine with that. They're all garbage humans. I'm okay with that. But to use that as an excuse to be a dick to Muslims or to be a dick to Jews simply because this one guy is a horrible person. That is like me saying that, oh, most US domestic terrorists are white men, so I'm just going to assume all white men are domestic terrorists. Because that is exactly the same logic as these bigots use. But like I said, this isn't new. I'm sure many people who are fans of my other channel are also fans of George Takei. He, when he was a little boy, was in a Japanese internment camp. Why? Because the US, in its infinite wisdom, decided that even Japanese Americans, ethnic Japanese, but who were born in this country, who had absolutely no contact with Japan, or even Japanese citizens, Japanese who came over and became American citizens. People, in their infinite wisdom, including our own government, decided that it was too much of a risk in World War II to have them roaming around. And yes, racism played a role, because did they do this to the Germans? No, they did not. So it was obviously a race-based thing, because yeah, they looked at Germans with suspicion, but did they round them up into camps? No. So yeah, bunch of racists decided this was a great opportunity to be fucking racist and, but do it in under the guise of national security. Let's see. We of course did this with indigenous people in the US. Um, putting them in on reservations, sending, both the US and Canada did this, sending them to schools to try to beat the savage out of them, because they, in their egos, just couldn't accept that being anything other than like them was even an option. Oh my god, there's more than one way to human. Who would have thunk? And so there's that. I had another one in my head. What was it? Maybe it'll come to me. But so there's a history just in the US, just in North America, of people being absolute dicks to one another for absolutely no good reason. I mean, yes, okay, be concerned about German spies, Japanese spies, whatever. But if your only evidence is a person's ethnicity, or that they're German or Japanese nationals or whatever country it is you're currently at war with, that's that's just being a dick. I mean, that's just saying you want to hate and you are desperately looking for a reason to hate. And now you have even the flimsiest of reasons. Why? How is this helping anything? How is, I don't know, maybe because they think they're somehow in control of a situation that, well, there is no control? I don't know why people do that. Why people need to attack innocent people for something they had nothing to do with just because they resemble those people over there. Or, that are attacking us, attacking our allies, doing this, doing that. It doesn't mean that every member is like that. Like I said, you wouldn't like it if I pointed to Christian white men and said that they're all domestic terrorists because those are basically the only ones that commit terrorism in the US. No. Obviously that's not true. I know that's not true because I actually bothered to, use my brain and and understand the concept of nuance. But this is how people are thinking, and I do not understand it. I get it. This is a scary time. The world is burning. I hate living in this world right now. This world sucks. But how is attacking someone just because of their race, ethnicity, religion, how is that even remotely making you in control of any situation? It's not. It's just making you a dick. I mean, I just do not understand why people think that they're helping anything. Like I said, it's gotta be just you're a bigot, you want an excuse to attack these people, and then the world gives you that excuse. The universe gives you that excuse through an armed conflict. So now you think that it's perfectly okay, just like the Japanese internment camps, it's perfectly okay to act on your bigotry because now you have some cover. Or at least so the bigots think. I just don't understand. I really don't. I mean, I'm saying the words. It makes sense to me in the sense that, you know, bigots are just trying to give themselves cover. The modern version of the KKK hoods. But at the same time, it doesn't make any sense because why are you so full of hate to to a group of people that did nothing to hurt you? I mean, I could almost understand it if it was that you were hurt by a bunch of people who identified as a certain group. I could see that. But if these people are someone who's never hurt you, and in many respects you never met someone of that group. So why? And like I said, this is historical. We have mostly racist versions of this, but oh yes, the non-racist version was the Red Scare of the 50s and the evil communists. Now, I'm not going to sit here and defend communism. No, not going to do that. However, to go absolutely batshit and just look for any evidence of communism in the slightest of things, like John Lennon. He sang things like imagine there's no country, imagine there's no religion. And the FBI I think it was the FBI, or maybe it was the CIA, I can't remember, had a file on him because they were worried that he was a communist because, that's what communists say. They don't want religion. No, not every atheist is a communist. Thank you very much. It's just that we don't see a need for religion. That doesn't make us communists. Is that something we have in common with communists? Yes. But communists forcibly snuff out religion. Whereas we just don't believe, and we don't really give a shit what you believe as long as you don't hurt anyone and you leave us the fuck alone. So, but yeah, it was a knee-jerk reaction to anything remotely resembling someone that they know of who's communist. Oh, communists hate religion, so any atheist must be a communist. I mean, it got to the point that there were so many actors who were blacklisted for, oh, I don't know, not for, I don't know, having, some were blacklisted simply because they had Jewish names, Russian Jewish names, I might add. So that somehow made them communist, I guess? I honestly have no idea why people went absolutely apeshit with blacklisting. Except that Joseph McCarthy decided that he was going to make himself famous by having a modern day, because this was the 50s, witch hunt. And this was a legit witch hunt, unlike what Trump is saying. This is a legit one because they went after people who weren't even communist. Far from it, just because they might have had one thing in common with communists. It got to the point where, hey, communists wear underwear. You wear underwear. You must be a communist. That's how crazy it got. So, yeah, it's just, please, if you are hating on Palestinians for what is for Hamas, don't. Hamas does not actually speak for the Palestinians, even though they were kind of forced to have Hamas as their leadership, and that's a whole other clusterfuck. Thank you, George Bush. So if you hate them simply because of Hamas, why? Do you just not want to think? Do you think it's so much easier to blame an entire people for their government? I mean, most people, if you look at the popular vote, most people did not vote for Trump when he won. That didn't prevent him from winning. Would you be fine? Actually, the people who think that way probably would be fine with the rest of the world just assuming that we're all Trump lovers or something. But we're not. We weren't then, we aren't now. It's just the way the system works that's horribly scary. So, yeah. Just think, before you hate on a group of people, think about it for a second. Who is the one who I should be blaming for committing a terrorist attack against Israel? Oh yes, that would be Hamas, which is a terrorist group, most of whom are not actually Palestinian. They just have this singular goal of wiping Israel off the map. That is their legit only goal. They do not give a rat's ass about the Palestinians. So, if they're just useful for them. So if Israel accidentally bombs a bunch of civilians, they can do the boo-hoo, look at how we're persecuted, look at what they're doing to the Palestinians, when in reality, they really don't care. They just, want Israel and Palestine to hate each other. If you hate Israel because of how they're treating the Palestinians, absolutely hate the government. Absolutely hate the government. And hate the individuals who are, I don't know, pushing into illegal settlements onto Palestinian land. Absolutely hate those people. But that doesn't mean that all Israelis agree with that. Actually, most probably don't. So, I know thinking is hard, and learning about situations, especially complicated ones, is hard because it's complicated. But that doesn't mean that you should go for the simple answer and just paint everyone with the same broad brush, because you wouldn't want that done to you when your government did something horrible. So, or whatever you didn't agree with. You wouldn't want people to assume that you're like that. So why would you do that to other people? It makes zero sense. And that's talking about people who are living in those countries. Now, but the majority of the violence now is dealing with the rise of bigotry in other countries because of what's happening in those two countries. Again, I'm not going to go after the first Russian I see and beat them down because I assume that they somehow agree with Putin simply because they had the misfortune of being born in Russia. That is dumb. And unless there's proof that this person is pro-Putin, there's absolutely no reason to attack them. As the same reason you don't go after every Muslim. You don't, if you want a free Palestine, which many people do. Even many people in Israel want a two-state solution. But to advocate a free Palestine does not necessarily mean you have to prove that you mean it wholeheartedly by attacking a Jew. That is not helping to get a free Palestine. To attack a Jew in the US who has absolutely nothing to do with what's happening. That is not doing anything except giving you what you think is cover for your being a horrible person. Because this isn't doing anybody any good. Nobody at all. And I'm just rambling at this point, and so with that, I will see you guys in the next video.